Okay, hey Joe, so I'm gonna just do a screen video, and I got to do it quick because they don't, you can't download, a lot of gigs on these things. So, so my background is I'm not working. I was in the military, and I retired as a lieutenant colonel about 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and I was in acquisitions. Uh, Kind of like the business end of the military contracts. I did contract fraud. I worked at embassies, doing defense cooperation stuff. But that's my background, business degree, and yeah, so that's it. And um, so the thing about the empathics in the skills sets that you get out of it um, are more. It's more intuitive. You're uh, being being empathic, or knowing you're empathic makes you more intuitive because you understand, or you feel things through. Well, you work your way through life with feelings. You sense things, you sense energies, and I knew it since I was a kid. So I've since developed a lot of things that you can do with it. It's mostly in the end part of my life. I actually hit it when I was younger because I thought there was something wrong with me. But I met my cousin who's really, I mean, she's really psychic. She sees things like right off the bat. And I'm getting there, but you just have to practice it. But one of the things, I do is I do card reading, and I learned it from a lady in Australia, and she decided, or she says, hey, we don't have a lot of card readers that are male. How about I teach you how to do these cards, read cards, and then you can help me with she has a hobby farm, and she's getting old, so she couldn't take care of it. So I used to go down there and do her, just fix her property up. And then she'd teach me everything about cards and you know, how to, uh, uh, how to talk to people, you know. And it's no scam, it's not like they'd say, oh yeah, well, if you see your head bob, then you say this. It's more like these card readers they're more concerned about saying the wrong thing or putting things in someone's head that shouldn't be there. So that's the art of it. That when you're seeing these things, you don't want to inject a negative path to them. It's always, if it's a negative, it's a way to improve something or to look out for something, but you never try to plant something that's harmful to them. So that's a big thing that they teach you, or she taught me. And yeah, and sometimes you're off, sometimes you're on, but once you learn this skill and all these exercises, you can hone it into where um, it's amazing. So these one of the things that came up, I got this new computer with the styling pen, and I started playing around with it, and I started coming up with these things that made sense. You know, this is the first one. In this one, I was just trying to make a picture, and I was sending it to Sean Owen, the guy from Salt, and I was just gonna send it to him, because he was kind of cool to me, because I was talking back and forth about suggestions on how to use Salt, and he, he knew all the stuff I was already saying. So, but he was still cool about it. So this was a goof. I sent it to him, and that's the last I heard from him. Man, he thought, he says, "Oh, thanks," and I never heard from him again. But it's a painting, and then about 3 days ago, or 3 days after I painted it, I was looking back and I said, "Oh my God, look at here's these angels that are encircling these people." This thing was supposed to be like a storm, like a storm, and the thing was out of shadows, uh, burning ever bright. People going into the light. But here it is. It's like a monster head, right? Monster head, and these people are coming out of the monster head, and I got there these angels walk all around. See, like, you see how it kind of looks like an angel? But I didn't paint it. I didn't go and paint this thing. And you'll see in these other things. And I was looking at it from a distance, and I said, "Oh my God!" And then this lady looks like she's bending. She's turning back and petting this dog, and this dog is either looking at her or looking at this monster. And so that's when I first said, "What the heck?" So I tried it again, and then another thing I found just the other day. I was turning my pictures upside down because I'm finding things. You turn it upside down, and here it looks like a group of people, with their heads bowed down. See how that guy's head's down, like it's drudgery, going into this. See, like an old man up there with his like a long chin. It's like they're all standing in line to some sort of you know purgatory or whatever. But I don't know what this thing is, and I'm still hanging on to it because I don't know what the meaning is. But I got some other ones, and this is, I said, this is all empathic stuff, and this is what happens, and it's like I said, I think it's my subconscious doing this. My subconscious paints these pictures when I do a smash up. So that's the first one. But let me show you one that this is one that really hit home. So this one I smashed paint up. This woman said, "Yeah, do a painting on me." So she sent me an auto paint, and I maybe talked to her about 3 or 4 times on Telegram. So I didn't know her that well. And this thing that came up was a bunch of animals, and I just want to show you how intricate this is. A bunch of animals here, and oh shoot. And this is let's see if I can show it here. So see this lady here? Oops, it looks like she's getting raped, right? And then here's a person on top of her, and here's some hands, and here's a girl here. Here's a girl here getting, looks like she's, getting touched. And then back here, here's all these kids that are in a looks like a cave. And here's a woman here, and here's a guy. There's a guy sitting there, like looking at the girls, and then there's some heads here, and the big thing is here's a woman, right? And this kind of looks like her, and it looks like she has her hand back. Do you see it? And she's protecting this person here, who's holding a dog. I thought it was a dog or a sibling, right? And then if you look even closer, you see some parents. See, there's the dad, and there's the mom, and then the dad is holding, protecting the back of this girl. And here's, like a big dragon face, and it comes out like that, but maybe it's missing an eye, right? And I would put an eye in there to show that this looks like a dragon. And look, there's someone sitting in his mouth. But these things come out, and I just highlight them, like this. So I brushed her hair back, and I brushed it long, to show that, yeah, that's looks like a woman. And then here's looks like a tablet or something. But all these animals are around. There's a sheep, looks like a calf here. There's a cat, and yeah, and here's like a lion. But so anyway, I was spinning this around, and I said, man, I don't know how I'm gonna explain this to her. um, because I don't really know her, right? So I always say to myself, she sent the picture for a reason, right? She doesn't know why she sent it, but she sent it, and you have to tell her what you see because that's what you're supposed to do, and then she has to um, digest it or just say, "Ah, that's nonsense," right? So I was really nervous about it, so I sent it to her, and she came back with this. So she finally got it open, and she says, "Wow, this is amazing. My plan is with my crypto is to build a home for sexually trafficked girls. I volunteer to counsel these girls," and she opens up her farm to do these therapies, right? Pet and garden therapy. It's so beautiful, right? So that's what she did. But in my mind, I said, she she was molested. That's why she's doing this, right? So uh, that evening, uh, she sent me this. Okay, so I don't know if you can see it. So, 1 p.m. and then at 8 p.m. she sent this. So she's telling her story about how she was abused by her dad, and that it was her pet that gave her solace when all this stuff was happening. And she says she never really talks about it to people too much, because usually she's the counselor. Um, but here's that picture, you know, um, that tells the story of it. And I had no idea, right, that she was that she was setting up a, a, a program for sexually abused girls, and that her farm was being used as a therapy, and that's how she got her comfort, right? She said she's to hold her dog, and there's a dog, and there's her, right? And then this is her new role. She's protecting this kind of people, and here's, you could see like she's protecting all these girls that are hidden behind her from these monsters. So um, that was proof to me that, like I said, oh my God, how could I have imagined that, right? It's my subconscious, and your subconscious is connected to everything. And I don't get money for this. I don't even I won't even let them donate money because it doesn't work when I get money because I push it too much. When I used to do these charities for this lady that taught me the cards, um, I would go to these things, and they'd sit down and they'd put a lot of money in the cup, and it all went to the charity. But I wanted to do such a good job for them. I just messed it all up because you can't get in that setting in your mind when you're trying to push things. Like you want it to be positive, and so I can't accept. I don't take any money for it, so it's not like I'm trying to scam these people that send me stuff. It's it's just amazing, and I like doing it because I just like whoa, and I've done it for myself. Like there's me. This is when I first got in right when I saw this, I said that's me when I was contemplating my first journey, into the military. I used to sit in the park and stare at the sky like that. So I said, well, why would I get that? Why would I get that now? Because I'm done. And then here again, I turn this thing over, and and here's an old man, right? An old man sitting there. So I said, man, maybe that's maybe I'm going on a second journey, right? Second journey. And I found a whole bunch of other things in here that I think are fitting. It's just that I haven't figured it out yet. I thought I did, but it just hasn't. But it'll all make sense, when I finally finish this, or whatever my second journey is. this all makes sense. Oh, this guy, I know who this is. I know why that is there. But it's my subconscious telling me this, right? Subconscious telling me I'm gonna have another epic journey that's gonna last until I'm old, really old, and I'll be beat up. Looks like. I mean, it's not gonna be a fun, a fun journey. Looks like. So here's some other ones really quick. So this is one where a person sent me his picture. He actually sent me two pictures, and I just combined them, and I smash paint them, and this is what smashing looks like. I just go like that, and I smash the paint, and then it makes impressions, and then I kind of like brush them. Okay, here's a face, so maybe I put some black here to make it look okay. Here's a face, and here's another one, and so it told the story of a relationship they had. Looked like a marriage, and he was distant. He wasn't into it, and she was saying, hey, come and help me, and then here's a picture of this woman, sexy woman, and it's like someone, you know, uh, touching her, So I asked him, I said, have you ever had an affair, or have you ever had you had a woman that you felt like you should have not been married, so you could have, an affair with, and more sexual, a sexual affair, because I didn't know if it was in his mind, like he was thinking of it, or it was out and he was doing it, because that's what is, see the barrier between these two? Like, here's a person, like here's a person on her side, and here's him with this girl, this woman, and so he says, you're projecting yourself onto me, and no, I never had an affair, and we divorced because she was a lesbian, right? And I said, oh man, okay, so that, I was off on that one, um, but I just kept on looking at it. I said, it doesn't look like there's anything that shows that it was that her being a lesbian was the issue, right? This is kind of his future. So his future is he's looks like he gets married. Here's a guy, he's holding a baby, and here's a woman there, and then here's him like a big oaf, and this woman that he meets is gonna bring all that crap off him. Like he's gonna shed his skin. See how this is his skin. He's shedding it now. He's pink and whole again, and this is all the crap. This is a shell, and there's a woman in there. Like all the debris is falling off him. So it was so spot on. I mean, so spot on as far as that goes. But he still admit he didn't. He didn't have an affair, and that was it. So later on, I was talking to him on Twitter, or not Twitter, but Telegram, and I said, sometimes people make mistakes on their investments, but people are human, and it doesn't mean that you're a bad person, or you're an evil person, It's just that people make mistakes like that, and who wouldn't, people do stuff like that, and he gave me the signal like, yeah, I'm, I did have that affair, and so he gave me the signal that but he couldn't admit it because he's a counselor. This guy's a counselor, and that's, he does drug and alcohol counseling, and he's a good-looking guy, and that's what happened. He just met this, real sexy woman, and he had an affair, and I think he got caught. So stuff like that, right? Like, I should know that. So that's what the gifts of an empath are. And I mean, I could read people like a book sometimes, even on Telegram. I would, I had this one guy that was just harassing me, because I got on this, it was Tron, and I got on there, and I was telling them about, there's two people that the one was really isolated, right? So I was telling him, hey, you seem like you're isolated at your house, and it's not, it's not healthy that that you isolate yourself like that, And then I was just telling him because I just felt that about him, right? And this guy was bagging on me like, oh, what do you, just actually I should have done it in a PM, rather than out there. But I just felt that I had to say that. And so I was so mad at this guy. I took one look at his picture and I read him like a book. He's a show off, and he's always competing against his friends. And so I just said it. I said, hey, this is your problem. And, I went and I said, you see it when you're at dinner. You see your friends always trying to outdo each other, in their talk. Just look at their speech, and they're doing that because you're doing it. And, and I said, you're the dope, because he was calling me a dope. I said, you're the dope because you surrounded yourself with a bunch of fake people, right? And it was just like, it was so clear to me because I was so angry. But that's I guess everybody has it, but I know I have it, and I'm not, because I know I have it, I can say it, um, you know, uh, with conviction, and because we all have it, it's just that we never let ourselves experience it, you know. And there's some techniques that you can do that will help improve it. And then once you do these practices, uh, you'll surprise yourself. I used to do these predictions on silver, and I would post them on investors.com, because once you post them, you can't erase them, So I just post them there, and they'd come true or whatever, and then I would show the group, and no one believed me, right? But everyone has it. So that's the skills that you get. And if you're ever in a working group, you need to have one guy that's a empath, because he's the idea guy. Usually when you get in these workshops, they're all left brain people, they're calculators, they're scientists, they're very particular. But you won't get any ideas if you're in your left brain. So you got to have a guy on your team that is an intuitive. And those guys shoot the idea out, and the team or the working group puts it together. But no one wants to be the intuitive guy, you know. So anyway, that is the gifts. But I'm telling you, when you're young, it's not a gift, because you live out of your 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 emotions, or you sense energies all the time. So when I was a kid, I had no control over it, and I used to just fall into these, if the guy was sad, I'd get sad. If the house, if my parents were fighting, I would get sad, and I just couldn't turn it off, and that's why I was mostly, I wouldn't say I was a loner, but I like to be by myself more, uh, because uh, it was just too much for me, especially kids. You're around kids that they got all sorts of emotions running, 100 a minute, and it just exhausts me. And so what I mean, I like it now, because I have my thought life is rich, and I entertain myself because of it. But when I was young, it was difficult, and I would rather be normal than the way I was when I was younger. But that's how you learn, and that's what gives you your special talents, is this, the hardening of that in certain ways. So anyway, so that's a overview of what is. And I still don't know. I mean, like I said, it's my subconscious doing it. Why I know it, we're somehow connected. That's all I can say. So I haven't found anybody that does. I've seen auto writing, and it's the same concept, but I haven't seen people do auto paints. So, but it's the same concept. All right. So hey Joe, so I got three sections done, and I just have to put two more, actually three more, and I got to cut it down. I got to edit it because it's way too long. But I think it's going to be good, and I think it'll open up discussions. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to talk about Enigma at all, and what their role is in it. I'm just going to talk about the blockchain in general, so I'm not going to lead anybody. Um, it'd be great to have everyone with their minds open to come up with all sorts of ways that Enigma is going to progress, and then you just pick the best ones and then make it better. So, okay, hope you enjoyed this one.